Some love stories begin with a smile. Some begin with destiny. But Naomi's began on the night a stranger spoke her name as if he had known her for 1,000 years. This wasn't love at first sight. This was older, deeper, something she was never meant to walk away from. Naomi had never believed in fate. But on a windswept evening, outside the old chapel, waiting for a friend who hadn't shown, she felt the wind shift, sharp, cold, and purposeful. A whisper of something unseen moving behind her. And then she heard it, a voice low but certain, pulling her name from the darkness. Naomi. She spun around. A man stood there. Eli. Tall, silent, and handsome. His presence almost glowing beneath the flickering streetlight. His eyes weren't warm, not cold, but they felt familiar, like a memory she couldn't place. "Do I know you?" she asked, her heart tightened. He shook his head slowly. "No, not yet." That should have terrified her, but instead it felt like a puzzle piece clicking into place. They spoke, or rather he spoke, and she listened, heart thudding in her chest, trying to understand why a stranger felt like a fragment of her own memory. Then he said something that froze her blood, her middle name, a name she had stopped using years ago, a name almost no one knew, Kokoma, the name her late grandmother used to call her. How did you know that?" she whispered curiously and looking around. He blinked slowly, like waking from a dream. "I don't know," he murmured. "I didn't mean to scare you." But it was too late. Fear had already slithered into her spine. Yet still, she didn't walk away. Because something, somewhere deep inside, whispered, "Stay." Also, Eli was charming. For several weeks, Eli kept appearing in her life. Not in eerie, intrusive ways, just always there at the exact moment she needed him. Her car wouldn't start at the grocery store. There he was. Her phone slipped from her hand at the park. There he was. She thought she was alone at church. There he was. Every time, the wind shifted around him. Gentle, yet listening. Waiting. Naomi couldn't explain it. Eli couldn't either. On their fourth unplanned meeting, he said quietly, "I feel like I'm remembering you. Like you're someone I'm supposed to protect." The words should have calmed her. Instead, they made her shiver. Then came the dream. One night. A night she would later wish she had understood. Naomi found herself standing on a cliff, but this time, the world around her wasn't peaceful. The sky churned black, clouds twisting like living shadows. Below her, the ocean didn't roar like waves. It screamed. Thousands of voices, crying, begging, warning. The ground beneath her feet cracked, as if something alive was trying to break through. And then she felt it behind her. Slow footsteps, heavy, dragging. Every instinct told her not to turn. Every instinct told her to run. But her body wouldn't move. When the footsteps stopped right at her back, she felt cold fingers, ice cold, slowly touch her shoulder. She turned. It was Eli, but not the Eli she knew. His eyes were wrong, black, bottomless, shifting like something was moving behind them. His expression wasn't loving or calm. It was ancient, stern, possessive. He opened his mouth to speak, but the voice that came out wasn't his. It was deeper, layered, like many voices speaking through him at once, saying loudly, "You are mine." The cliff split open. Shadows crawled out, no shape, no face, just hands. Dozens of hands, reaching for her, grabbing her ankles, her wrists, her throat. Eli, or the thing wearing him, didn't help. He only watched, eyes glowing faintly, as the hands dragged her toward the edge. Naomi screamed his name. For a moment, just a moment, the real Eli's face flickered through the darkness. Terrified, trapped, as if he was fighting something inside his own body. He whispered one word, soft trembling, "Run." Then his face twisted back into the other one, cold, claiming, ready to pull her under. She woke up with a violent gasp, drenched in sweat, heart pounding like she had been running for her life. And a scripture, sharp, urgent, was burned into her mind, like someone had whispered it into her ear while she slept. "No weapon formed against you shall prosper." Isaiah 54 verse 17. And then, as she tried to calm her shaking hands, another verse rose in her heart, one she didn't fully understand yet. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against the rulers of the darkness of this world. Ephesians 6 verse 12. But even with all of that, the terror, the scriptures, the warning, she prayed for a few minutes and brushed the dream off. Because back then, Naomi was already crushing on Eli hard. Every time she saw him, she lit up. He made her feel safe, seen, happy in a way she hadn't felt in years. He wasn't like any other guy she had met. Gentle, steady, different. So she convinced herself it was nothing. Just a nightmare. Just stress. She didn't know then that the dream wasn't random. She didn't know the warning was real. And 3 months later, those scriptures would save her life. They both fell in love. Their bond deepened unnaturally fast. Every shared moment felt guided, scripted, inevitable. And then came the night everything changed. It began with a knock at her door, soft then firmer, as if someone or something was urging him forward. Naomi opened it. Eli stood there, breathless, chest rising and falling like he'd run through a storm. But his eyes were steady, focused entirely on her. In his hand was a ring, not modern, not sparkly, ancient, bronze and warm, etched with symbols that seemed to shift like they were alive beneath the light. Naomi, he said, with a low voice, almost reverent. This is a family heirloom, but I've never seen it before, ever, until today. Before she could respond, a violent wind crashed against the building. Doors slamming, window panes rattling, frames shuddering. The lights flickered. Once, twice. Eli stepped inside quickly and grabbed her hand, grounding her. "Don't be afraid," he whispered, though his own voice trembled. "I don't understand it, but I think this ring was meant for you." "For me?" She breathed. Her fingers grazed the ring. And the moment she touched it, the entire world reacted. The air pulsed. The wind stopped instantly. The lights steadied. The silence that followed wasn't empty. It felt aware. And Eli, as if pulled by a force far older than his own decision, slowly sank to one knee. This time, it wasn't an accident. He wasn't confused or pushed. He chose it. He looked up at her with a depth that made her breath catch. Love, awe, fear, destiny, all tangled together. "Naomi," he said softly, "I don't know why this ring found me today. I don't know what it means. But I know one thing with absolute certainty." His hand shook as he held the ring up to her. "I want you. Only you. Will you marry me?" The ring glowed faintly, just for a heartbeat, as if something ancient whispered yes before she could speak. And Naomi felt it. The pull, the warmth, the mystery, the danger wrapped in something that still felt like love. She didn't know it then, but this moment would change everything. For a moment, Naomi couldn't breathe. Eli was kneeling before her, eyes soft, hopeful, trembling. Looked nothing like the dark version from her dream. This was the man she had fallen for. The man who made her feel safe. The man whose presence brought warmth into every room he entered. Her heart pounded so loudly, she almost didn't hear her own whisper. Eli swallowed hard, waiting. Naomi pressed a hand against her chest, steadying her breath. Everything inside her pulled toward him. The way he looked at her. The way the air stilled around them. The way her spirit felt claimed but comforted. "I don't understand any of this," she finally said, voice shaking. "But I know how I feel when I'm with you." She knelt, too, right in front of him, their foreheads nearly touching. "I say yes," she breathed. "Yes, Eli. I'll marry you." The moment the words left her mouth, the ring warmed in his hand. Not hot, not burning, warm like a heartbeat. The lights dimmed, just for a second, and a soft breeze curled through the room, even though all the windows were closed. Eli didn't notice. He was too busy exhaling, relief flooding his face as he slid the ring onto her finger. But Naomi noticed, because the moment the ring touched her skin, something brushed past her, cold, invisible, slow, like a hand gliding along the back of her neck. She gasped quietly, but Eli mistook the shiver for emotion and pulled her into his arms. "Naomi, I love you," he whispered. And she believed him. She loved him too. But behind him, just beyond his shoulder, Naomi thought she saw something. A flicker, a shape, a shadow that shouldn't exist in a well-lit room. It stood perfectly still, as if watching, witnessing, angry. When she blinked, it disappeared. Naomi forced herself to smile, sinking into Eli's embrace. She told herself it was nothing. She was imagining it, since she was simply overwhelmed. But deep down, in a place she didn't want to acknowledge, she felt it. Saying yes had awakened something. And whatever it wasn't done with her, or with Eli. The wedding came sooner than anyone expected. Not rushed, not forced, just inevitable. Like the world itself was nudging them forward. It was held at sunset, beneath a sky painted in soft oranges and fading gold. Only a handful of people were there, family, a few close friends. But even they whispered among themselves, "Why so soon? Why does it feel different?" Naomi didn't have the answers. Eli didn't either. All they knew was that their steps kept leading them to this moment, as if every path they took curved back into each other. And when Naomi walked down the aisle, dressed beautifully in an eye-catching wedding gown, glowing skin, eyes full of nervous excitement, Eli's breath left his lungs. He looked at her like she was the first sunrise after a long winter. Not lustful, not possessive, soft, in awe, completely undone. Naomi felt her cheeks warm under his gaze. He made her feel chosen, wanted, seen. The ceremony was quiet, gentle, the kind of moment where time seemed to slow in reverence. They held hands. Eli's thumb brushed the ring on her finger in small circles. A touch so tender she blushed, smiling down at their intertwined fingers. It should have been perfect. But then, a breeze moved through the chapel. Not harsh, not cold, just enough to make the candles flicker. No doors were open, no windows. The officiant hesitated, looking around. Naomi sensed it again. That presence, that unseen attention. Something was here with them, watching, claiming. Yet Eli squeezed her hand tighter, grounding her. "I'm right here," he whispered, just loud enough for her alone. His voice carried such warmth that for a moment the unease melted. When they said their vows, their voices trembled. Not from fear, but from the depth of emotion between them. When Eli lifted her hands to his lips and kissed them gently, Naomi's heart fluttered so hard her knees almost gave out. She'd never felt so deeply adored. The final blessing was spoken. They were pronounced husband and wife. Everyone clapped softly, joyfully. But Naomi felt something shift in the air. A pressure, a pulse. Like a door she couldn't see had just opened. As she and Eli walked away from the altar, golden sunlight stretching long shadows across the floor. Naomi froze as she saw Eli's shadow, adjusting to a shape of a woman. She reached for him with trembling fingers. "Eli, your shadow." But as soon as he turned, the shadow snapped back into place. Perfect, normal, human. He frowned gently, worried. "Naomi, are you all right?" She forced a smile, swallowing her fear. "Yeah, I'm fine." But she wasn't. Because for the briefest moment, just long enough to be real, Naomi saw it. Something strange, scary, impossible. Eli's shadow didn't move with him. It lagged, flickered, as if something else, something not human, was wearing his shape. She stepped closer, heart hammering. "Eli, your shadow. Look there." But the moment he turned, it snapped into place. Perfect, normal, human again. "We should go rest in the hotel," Eli said. She forced a smile again. "Yeah." Hours after the wedding, while at the hotel, Naomi notices something wrong. Eli's voice, his small habits, the way he stands too still, listens too carefully, smiles a half-second too late. And then, while he's making tea, the reflection in the kettle catches her eye. Eli's reflection is not facing forward. It's staring directly at her, smiling. But Eli himself has his back turned. For a heartbeat, she had glimpsed the truth. Her marriage had awakened something that had been sleeping for centuries. Something that hadn't finished with Eli or her. And it was waiting. Not in the shadows, not exactly. But close enough. Silent enough. Patient enough. It knew Naomi had claimed Eli. And now it had come for her. If you want to know whether she's still married to Eli or to something wearing him, watch episode 2.